Hey, can you guys see me? Haggard face these days. I want you to see all my garbage everywhere. Actually, it's just a little clutter I have to clean. I wanted you to see my face so you know, hi, I'm here. I'm a real person still. Mirrored images kind of freak me out. I don't work great with them and I don't learn well from them either, so I try not to use them a lot. Let me fix a couple of these settings and share something with you and make sure that it shares. And okay, now let's see if you guys are kosher. There we go. Okay. All right. I'm going to ramble a little bit as I always do in the beginning of the videos. Let me get a couple of disclaimers out of the way. I am a citizen, as far as I'm aware, of the United States of America. I am extending the use of my free will and freedom of speech from my creator because I'm sovereign, but also from my constitutional rights that were laid out by our forefathers. So that's the first thing. Everything I'm sharing is per the Fair Use Act for the purposes of education and or criticism. We are researching our current events, trying to be proper citizens and maintain our and complete our due diligence to be aware of things that are going on in our world. I hope that people watching can detect the sarcasm that I'm using. Lastly, I seek to do no harm, no physical harm, no monetarily harm or whatever to anyone else nor to myself. Let me make that very clear. We're going to start with current news, just to wait for a couple of people to get here because, again, things are happening really fast. Trump is getting his feet wet again, and he's coming in swinging and just getting all kind of things done. So we're going to talk a little bit about that while people come in, and I'm going to try and go over the things that I went over yesterday. There will be moments where the screen will be black and I will just talk, and there will be moments where I will type and I won't say certain words just so you can see, get an idea of the points that I'm trying to convey to you. Apparently, they cut the video short last night, but they did not send me an email. They did not delete the video. It was still there. I deleted it of my own accord this morning because they only let it stay up, or they only posted 3 minutes of it. And if you see the screenshot, I bring receipts, man. My kids taught me, you bring receipts these days. You take screenshots of everything. I still sometimes forget that people are always watching. I'm human. I am imperfect, and I will never try to present as if I am better than or more than or anyone else other than hopefully my own self and my own past. So I'm not here to lecture you or anything like that. I'm here to just do my part as a citizen, as a human being, as part of the human race. So having said all that, we're going to look at something that come out after the DC incident. And then I'm going to go over a few code words that were used in the media, by the media. They're doing this a lot more lately. They are talking to each other. These media outlets are talking to each other in code. That's wise. Christ did it. That's how they got the gospel out, and that's how they got certain information out that elitists and everybody else wanted to keep secret. See, ascension and theosis and sovereignty should be something that no matter where you're born, what station you're born to, God gives you access to these things no matter where you're at, so that the game is fair, so that there's a fair playing field. All right. Those are things that can't be taken from you. Okay. So we need to start operating that way and understanding that. So if I say certain things or I don't say certain things, there's a purpose for that. Please listen. Our attention spans have gotten so short. I have people commenting things when I've already gone over that. And I'm not lecturing you. The point is, we're not listening. All these TikTok shorts, all the shorts on YouTube, they're not good for me. They're not good for you. And I'm going to show you why. Because we've all missed a lot of what's going on. And I went over this in 2019. Now I'm going to pull up a screen and I'm going to type something in. And I'm going to give you a reminder of where something came from back in 2019. In 2019, they used this phrase, okay? So I'm going to go here and I'm going to show you what I typed in and I'm going to make sure you can see it. So please understand, I'm double checking all this. Okay, you guys can see it, I can see it. Do you see what I typed in up there to the search bar? CCG, continuity of government. That was a quote used yesterday. Back in 2019, phrase replaced a different phrase. I want to remind you of something. Everybody seems to have forgotten. Right here, folks, is where that came from. That operation, WS, came from this guy, the 45th and now the 47th alleged leader of the free world, okay? So allegedly, that's where that came from. Every time I click over, somebody leaves. It's funny. I can't see who you are, so you're not like, it's just weird people behave in the ways that they do. So this is the president that brought us this action, okay? When this was signed, we went into we have to use our memories. We have to pay attention. We have to have longer attention spans. So here you go. This is what happened in 2019. I'm going to try and find information if they'll show me any. Of course you didn't. Now I'm going to add the other phrase. Hold on. Make sure it's here with you. Yep, you can see it. All right, here we go. See, I think what happened is they wanted you to believe that the Biden administration was responsible for everything that happened the last 4 years, and I don't think that's true. I don't think he was the president. In 2019, they declared this for the CV, for the cocktails that go here, right? They declared this. So I'm trying to see if I can find it. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to take you to a different tab. We're going to save this one so that I can into it and show you. All right, so we're going to go to something else. And share this. All right, so what does that mean? What is this? What does it mean? Hold, please. All right, I'm going to bring up just that. There we go. Okay, so I want to go over a couple of things. They say this is training. Okay, we're going to read the news here. And I need you to read between the headlines. That's our job, is to defragment the headlines and try to determine what is being said to us. Okay? And I don't like that this is looking different to me. Why is it not? It's not looking like it did yesterday, and I don't like when that happens. There we go. All right. All right, so they're saying that basically that this mission was a training or a retraining mission for continuity of government. Well, what is continuity of government? I'm going to show you. Hold on a second. Hold, please. I'm going to bring up the wiki just so you can see what it looks like. Of government, right here. You can see it here, right? You guys are seeing it? Let me make sure this time. Yes, excellent. What is continuity of government? It is the principle of establishing defined procedures that allow a government to continue its essential operations in case of a catastrophic event, such as, you see what the word is right here, nuclear. You know what? I'm going to be real careful here because I don't want to. The video needs to stay up because I found something that describes everything that's going on right now. Okay, and I will leave the link in the description bar. You guys have got to go read it yourselves. I will go over the important bits. So, yesterday, I knew that I had to go over this, that it wasn't a choice when I saw all of these things lining up because I wanted to go to bed. I did not want to do this video last night. And then I heard this phrase, continuity of government. Well, I heard it back in 2019 too. Continuity of government replaced this word. Do you see it? ML. It starts with ML. Okay, you're seeing it. Good, good. So continuity of government replaced that. And you see when they use this. Now they're telling us it's for training. I'm going to prove to you why I think they're lying. They're lying that it's for training. And I got the proof. I can show you. I've been saying this since 2019 that we had already been infiltrated, that we were experiencing what is called a Trojan horse. What is a Trojan horse? A Trojan horse was a gift that one country gave to another country. And inside of this Trojan horse, they put a bunch of people, a bunch of their soldiers. It was the golden calf, right? So they bring this Trojan horse in, and then they lock the gates. And in the middle of the night, this small army that could not have defeated this bigger army defeated them because they had more skill and they had more wisdom, right? They were craftier. Trojan horse means you get into your enemy lines and you surprise them that way. You don't let them know that you're there. You get into, just like the devil in the darkness has gotten into the churches. And I know that in scripture, Christ says, hell shall not prevail beyond these gates, right? He's meaning spiritually. We know that God makes a new earth, that he makes way for a new earth. He does not mean physical walls and a physical temple. He is talking spiritually, that the kingdom of God will go on forever. Let's make that very clear. Number two, we are being lied to. It is my estimation that we're being lied to, and they're doing this for our own benefit. The problem is we still have to talk to each other and let each other know what's happening. They've indoctrinated the youngsters through TikTok and Red into thinking that this other country is so much greater, when some of us have personal experience to know that that is not true. But I also know that America is the most propagandized nation. And I also know that we're Israel, and nobody else seems to realize that. God said he would blind the nation of Israel, that they would not know the Messiah. When they were asked by Pontius Pilate if they wanted to crucify Christ or if they wanted to free him, they said to free Barnabas, the murderer, and that they would. And Pontius Pilate said, I wash my hands of this. His blood shall not be on my hands. And the Jewish people said, it shall be on ours and that of all of our children. They cursed themselves and all of their children to not be able to see. They're talking about a time of prosperity. I got goosebumps just to show you like that this is legit. Like, I don't know if you'll believe that, but I don't know if you can see it. And I hate my tattoos now, so please don't crack on me. I've said for a long time that the plan was to kick us out, to make us homeless, to have us committed, and or end ourselves or to end us. All of those things are happening. I did not manifest them. I did not attract them. You want me to disprove the law of attraction right now? The little boys and girls in Syria and in Gaza who are in the middle of all this and don't ask to be genocided away, did they attract that to themselves? They attracted genocide? Stop being foolish, man. We got people watching videos and talking about Diddy. Dude, this is all a military psyop. They are distracting us. And I get it. Like, there's a good reason for it to a point, but we're adults. We are adults. If my family would have told me the situation from the jump, I could have made an educated decision on how to move through life after that. But because I simply was not aware of the situation I was in, I could not make any wise decisions. I did not have all the information. I don't know if Trump is still our president. I think that our leaders fell or were removed from the playing card in 2019. I've said this ad nauseum. It finally came out. They had to tell you about the deep fakes. It finally came out about demon syndrome because so many people are recognizing something's going on with people. And this is not something that we are used to being in the norm or scope of our normal practice of reality. Everything they're doing now is damage control. The smart cities have always been smart. They've always watched us. Now they have to come up with an excuse because they know they're caught. If we figure out that it's been here this whole time, a lot of people are going to get very upset. And when your whole world is shattered and your whole paradigm falls down, you cannot blame a society for going a little insane. My family is French. Viva la révolution. Yeah? Everything I love is being attacked. Don't think that I don't see you and know you. Why I'm involved in this, I have no clue. You're attacking France with them that joke of an Olympics. I don't think there was I think they're showing us stuff just to keep us placated while they change the whole world out there and we're just looking at it on a screen. We've got to leave Babylon and nobody wants to hear it. Okay, so I rambled and I do that with a purpose. Is there anyone here? In the middle of my videos, I get into the meat. Hopefully any censorship or whatever is gone at that point. So I'm going to keep going. I don't know how I look today. This whole thing is very stressful, but I have no desire to do anyone any harm. Honestly, I'm exhausted from even verbally sparring with people anymore. They're either going to be brought to the knowledge and the sight of what's happening or they're not. These messages that I'm bringing now are for people who are already spiritually mature enough to admit we've messed up, we were lied to, because nobody wants to come to terms with that, and say, well, I'm not the master of my own domain. I'm not in control of things here. There are things happening that I don't understand, because that's scary. When your whole world is shaped entirely different than they tell you, than you're taught. But again, the CIA wanted this. So not everything we were taught was a lie, right? So again, balance. All right, so I'm going to go over a couple of things and show you boom, 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 why it's a lie, why it wasn't training, all right? Now, we got to look at a couple details and a couple of numbers first. And watch what I type in, okay? There were 3 soldiers. And I'll tell you because I already did this video last night. There were 3 soldiers, right? There were, oh God, and it just happened again. It just happened again. Hang on. I had to go get my fibro medication. And it's like one of 2 I'm still on. I'm on one for my thyroid and one for this because I'm an open book. Not on any narcotics. They could only give me a few, and I would show it to you if I could, but I don't want to dox myself. I don't think I can, but I'll try to share a screenshot. They gave me 6 out of 60. He said, "I've got about 10 here. I can give you some more later today or tomorrow when they come in." I got 6/60. They did this a few years ago with me too. They gave me 6 inhalers once. I'm like, "My son and I couldn't possibly use all these. Why did you give these all to us?" Only 6. And so now, here's this pattern. Now watch, how many passengers? 60. Now we had people from Russia. We had people from China. And a lot of them were alleged figure skaters. That's also something I love. I wanted to be an Olympic figure skater until where I was learning and where I was taking lessons closed down. I learned in the mall in Pittsburgh where George Romero filmed Dawn of the Dead. And I still, other people dream of flying, and I dream of doing like triple toe loops and triple axels. I still dream of that. Sometimes I fly after that. But I love figure skating. So I'm going to tell you something else. We have 60 passengers, right? So there's his number, because in gematria, you drop the 0. It's a nothing. It means nothing. It's a placeholder. So you've got 60 passengers. They were allegedly from all over. They were figure skaters from the Boston area. What does that tell us? Well, Boston is where they had Satan Con, and it's where the Satanic Temple is. So they're telling us that this is possibly some type of sacrifice. And there's more. That's not it. Politically speaking, this is an emergency. This is urgent. So anyone that knows how to clip and edit videos, I give you permission to take parts of this video and use them as shorts, okay? Just maybe point people back to the channel. That's all I ask. God asked me to witness. I'm here to talk about Christ and about how he radically changed my life, and about how he's protected me through all of this, even though I'm bringing messages that they really don't want me to talk about. And I've personally suffered for it, but like, that's okay. Like, it's okay. I hope it's just not for nothing. That's all. I love my children, and I just want what any mom wants, right? Like, I just want them happy and healthy and safe and genuine to themselves. And I don't want them to be just order takers. Like, that's what they want, is order takers. Why don't you just have robots then? Why do you need human beings? Because it's spiritual, because it's about our souls. That's what it's always been about. So you have 60 passengers coming from Boston. Boston is where they had Satan Con last year. You can look it up. Boston is also where the Satanic Temple is located, where Lucian, the guy with the 2 different eyes, like David Bowie, lightning falling from sky. It's just these patterns over and over. You see these archetypes, and you see the hero's journey through Christ and through Pinocchio and becoming a real boy, and, having like a real life, right? All these patterns repeat over and over. So what does 60 passengers tell us? And again, this is me breaking it down in my way. I know other people have done this, but they did not find what I found and what I'm about to show you, okay? It was also Runway 33. We know that, all right? This is important. You've got to read it. So basically, and I'm going to give you the beginning intro in a nutshell, because I need to see if there's anyone here and kind of look at you guys. Okay. I need to give you a summary before I take you to this link, because I'm going to show you the most important bits, and then I'm going to try and end the video. I don't want it to be super long. I want it to be very accessible, and I want people to be able to clip it. And I always give that permission now, where it says allow. I just allow people to use it. Only here, parts of it like that. I just don't allow you to claim it as your own, because my life is tied up in this. Like, this is my life. This is my testimony. And it's kind of radical. It's wild, but it's important that we defeat the enemy through the word of our testimony and the blood of the Lamb. All right, 60 passengers tells us, I'm going to show you something. Basically, the government has this plan. You are looking at a link. This is foreignpolicy.com. It says the American government's secret plan for surviving the end of the world. This tells you how each administration, I think from Truman, the Truman Show, I think he's the one too that was made aware that we were being recorded, and Kennedy was going to stop that. And I can't find the speech where it specifically talks about surveillance and psyops being done on American soil, that Kennedy was against that as well. And that's right, very short after that, in the Cuban missile crisis, he was ended down in Texas. So just bear with me. Bigger, tougher people with bigger platforms, more money, more wisdom, more knowledge, more education, more pieces of paper on their wall, just better people than me, have come forward, and their lives have been ended because of these topics. I hope that if you're a praying person, that you would pray for me, my children, and of course my Samson. Mostly, I just hope you listen, and I hope this helps somebody you love, and I hope you pass it along. So this is their plan. And in this plan, I'm going to show you where it specifically calls for a flight with 60 people to be evacuated in the case of a crisis, to keep and maintain continuity of government. What does continuity of government mean? It means, like with Katrina, okay? When that happened for Katrina, that was a natural disaster in that area for those people. It was apocalyptic, okay? Continuity of government is who's going to be the president. If you have both people traveling together, right? And this is why the royal family does not travel together. I just read an article about how Princess Catherine, the queen in waiting, I'm not sure the proper title, how she cannot fly with her son any longer because it's a danger. And it's basically like Simon Says or Where's Waldo? It's like, who comes next? And this is why you'll see people need to be careful about national security. We as the public are not owed everything. And there are certain things that I find out that I don't talk about because they need to operate. That, and just like the Bible, in the end of the book, God didn't give us everything. He needs to be able to move in these times. He needs to not be bound by his own word, right? So he didn't make any promises because he wants to be able to work beyond our free will for our betterment. Our government doesn't all hate us. Not all of them are wicked, okay? Not any one group. You cannot make that blanket statement about any one group. If you can't say it about brown and black people, you can't say it about Caucasian people. If you can't say it about women, then you can't say it about men. In that way, in that hateful, like a blanket statement is what I mean there. It's exhausting having to explain yourself all of the time because most people don't have an attention span any longer, and the vocabulary from people has greatly devolved. And I'm sure it's because of who I am, but at work, even like, it's just hurtful when people behave in certain ways. And it's like, talk to you like you're a robot or like you're less than, like they bark at you like in one word and expect you to understand like what they were trying to convey in one word. I'm not that girl. I am never going to conform or be tamed in the way that the people around me and this place seems to want to make us behave. That is not to say that I don't love God. That's not what I'm talking about. I love God. I love God so much and what he gave us so much that I understand nobody has the right to take that from me or from you or from that child next to us. No matter the plumbing that we have under our clothes, no matter the tone or the pigment that God painted us with. So I'm going to get to a couple brief parts here, and hopefully maybe I will be able to edit them. I'm not sure. I'll try. But maybe somebody out there that can edit can make them into shorts and just pass them around. So there were 60 passengers on that flight, regular passengers. You also had 3 soldiers and the crew. So it ended up being like 67-ish. Okay, so this goes on to tell you how from each president they added on to continuity of government and how they would decide who would become the next president. This is why presidents and vice presidents should not travel in the same plane. This is why when that attack happened in New York in 2001, And they said Air Force One had the president. You don't want him in any one location where somebody can find him. And chances are, if they tell you he's in the sky, he's in the ground, right? He's underground. If they tell you he's in that big White House, he's probably in a humble house down the road. The White House is a museum. That's not a place where a president lives. Like, people that think this, no offense, but you're a child. And I mean, that's good in some ways. And it broke me. Like, this whole process has broken me. Like, seeing how lied to we are. And these are things that I should have woken up to a lot sooner in my life. But I didn't get that chance because I'm a female. And while I had to have children, and I had to have them when somebody else wanted me to have them and not when I was ready. I will never conform or be tamed to the way that you want me to be tamed. It's not going to happen. I will speak. I will feel. And even when I'm wrong and I do something that I know is wrong, I'm going to say, man, that was stupid. So when somebody I love is hurting themselves and others, I have seen the sin that I did, the transgression that I did. And anyone who was on Brie and Jen knows what I mean. Everything that happened in my household has come to the whole world. God has shown me in his way, in a dramatic way, through my life and through events in the world, that my actions and my transgression and my sin and my mistakes, even when I'm just being self-destructive, that affects people around me, whether they know and love me or not. A strong, morally sound, not abused, not traumatized, healed individual is a productive individual and is a good family member and a good community member and a good church member, and all of that spreads outward. The problem is they're wanting us to conform to this thing, and the problem is they raised us all in a lie. The American experiment is over. They don't know how to tell people. They are doing this soft disclosure, but it's not working. And you have this other dark side that really wants us at war. They want us to have a revolution. They want us to have a holy war, because then we're not looking to them for the answers. They have kept the truth from us for long enough. And it breaks my heart because everything I love is being attacked. France, the Catholic Church. And that's why I said Pittsburgh is probably next, because I love Pittsburgh. It's where I was born and raised, as far as I know. So, yeah. So this starts telling you how they're going to decide who the next president is going to be in the event of a natural disaster or a declaration of war. If some of them are at an event and God forbid a tragedy happens, who's the next president? How do you decide who's next in line? Well, all of these different presidents took amendments, right, to continuity of government to try and set out a plan. So they've been building, basically like a railroad track. This person is starting the story, this person is adding to it, this person is adding to it, and so on and so forth. So I want to show you, and this talks about specifically about evacuation procedures, all right? Now, most people gave up. It says they learned, right, through things like the Cuban Missile Crisis, where their weak spots were and where the holes in their armor were, and they realized things needed fixed. It says the American public said in polls that they wanted a civil defense program, but they lived in peace and didn't pay attention to its development. That's key. We don't pay enough attention. Even all those testing videos, those aren't real. I said it before Joe Rogan. I was telling you that years ago. I was telling you it's dioramas. How many times do you think they use miniatures? Just like Doc did in Back to the Future, he made a miniature of the whole town. Or when in school, when you're asked to make a diorama in a shoebox. That's what we are kind of to God, right? And on the pattern goes, like Russian dolls, layers of an onion, the Fibonacci, the golden rule. These patterns repeat themselves. These archetypes repeat themselves. But there comes a point, right? We are free-willed beings. When your consciousness awakes, you have a responsibility to either wake those around you gently or protect them until such a time as which they are awake. And it is a very difficult job to do and remain diplomatic at the same time. And I just know this caring for the young people that I work with. They drive me batty, I'm not gonna lie, like, they drive me batty. But they bring me such joy too and such hope, right? Because I see when they're at their best and how they work as a team and how they're a unit like that, and I envy that. My generation, or me anyways, I was so secluded and isolated, and my own family never wanted me to have friends, and it was just very different the way I was raised, and you don't realize it until you start hearing other people's stories and seeing their families. Then you're like, oh wow, this is different. All right, so now they're going over like different strategies. Now here's where we get to the meat of this, where they're talking about a whole bunch of different scenarios of what would they do in this event. All right. So, what about members of government themselves in an emergency or a changing of the defense condition status? The government operation, a so called special. Oh, wait, the joint. Here it is. Here it is. Start clipping here for a short. So, here is exactly why they're lying about the DC crash being a retraining mission. This is from Foreign Policy 2017. This is America's plan for an end of the world disaster scenario. That's not my words. That's a quote for the title of the article. And what about the members of the government themselves in an emergency or a changing of the defense condition status? The Joint Chiefs of Staff would order 60 primary officials to relocation sites. 60. How many passengers were on this flight that's allegedly for training purposes? 60. This was not a training exercise. You're telling us here this is all publicly available information. This is shared per the Fair Use Act of 1976, Section 107. They're lying to us. And you need to be careful. You need to keep the women in your family safe. You need to keep them close. That's probably why high profile people are keeping their women undercover, because they care about them. And that's what you do with women that you care about, is you keep them undercover that way. So I just proved basically that they were lying, that is not. Are you kidding me? Don't do it to me again. Don't you dare. Am I still streaming? Am I still streaming? Okay, I'm gonna have to ban you, because every time you come along and you start typing things, like, I get technical difficulties, and I'm assuming that's like a targeted issue. So, and I thought that this should be longer now. Hold please. I'm just gonna pull up on my phone and make sure we're still live. Okay, so we're gonna go back to here. 60 passengers on the DC flight, and this is telling you from Foreign Policy in 2017. And a quote from the actual article, it says, America's strategy for an end of the world scenario, or an apocalyptic scenario. And what about members of the government themselves in an emergency or a changing of the defense condition status? We should look that up. The Joint Chiefs of Staff would order 60 officials to primary relocation sites. What we need to do now is figure out where that flight was headed, because it says the government operated a so-called special facility atop Mount Weather in Berryville, Virginia, where a cadre of top executive branch officials would write out a, you see it here, I'm not going to say the words. Other standby relocation sites were near Hagerstown, Maryland, and Martinsburg, West Virginia, at the Marine base near Quantico, Virginia for the FBI, and Front Royal, Virginia, near a facility where the State Department was supposed to reconstitute. Still others were hidden at colleges, inside, or near the Beltway. So the media is lying to us. And the media has been lying to us probably since at least 2019. We've had a full bore Operation Mockingbird, which means the media are actors, and actors are liars. And remember that actors are liars, and that the people in LA could very well be lying. We don't know if any of those things are happening right now. Of course, we should pray for anyone affected ever by war and natural disaster. Okay. And we should pray that they are blessed with healing and cures and abundance and joy and food and warmth and clothing and shelter, right? Fresh water. But nowhere does it say that we have to believe everything that we are told. And that's what people are doing now. And I notice you get into that habit with these TikTok compilations and the content farms that are now on a part of YouTube, with these people They don't even question if it's real. So you get into their mindset, right? You see how they're the reaction channels. Your mind starts to work like theirs. They're not questioning anything. They never ask, I think they're lying. They never say, I think they're just playing. They're just trying to go viral. Very rare will you see a content creator do that. So I just proved that we're being lied to. The next thing I want to look for, I was praying out loud the other day and I asked God, I said, what is the linchpin? What do I need to pull on to make this whole house of cards come down to let people see and expose all the working parts of what's happening? How do I get my voice out there? How do I get your message out there, Lord? How do I get these videos out there? What is the linchpin? And I use that word, and again, this is how it works for me. It's like God speaks through my mouth without me knowing it. And I said linchpin. And when I read this in this link, I knew I had to show it to you guys. And I knew that it was a nugget of gold. Okay. Now it says, but the Army Air Force had enough helicopters to transport only about a third as many officials that would be required, assuming that above ground, check this out. If you want to do another short, you would start here. So this is weird, and this is an oddity also from foreignpolicy.com 2017. And what would the American government, its plans for an apocalyptic end of the world scenario? Their words, not mine. Right here, it says, sorry. The Army and Air Force had enough helicopters to transport only about a third as many officials as would be required, assuming that above ground transportation was possible. Okay. Instructions called for them to make their way in some other unspecified fashion if the helicopters were not available. Tunnels, guys, tunnels. Anyone who knows their history understands that the White House in Washington, D.C. itself has tunnels all over the place, everywhere. If we are being invaded and infiltrated, it's through the tunnels. It's not on top of the borders. I watched them crucify verbally. I watched them cancel a Twitch streamer because he went down without a crew, just by himself. He's one of those people who just didn't have sponsors. He just happened to go organically viral. He went down to the border and there was nobody there. He said, where are all the people? They've shown us these videos every 4 years over and over and over again. Please wake up. Please stop allowing yourselves to be hypnotized. And so now they're trying other things to take the place of the vacuum that might be in your brain, right, for distrusting the government. So they're putting this other stuff in there. It says right here, instructions called for them to make their way if they were evacuated and they could not fit on this plane. If all the 60 people couldn't fit on this airport or airplane, it says they were called to make their way in some other unspecified fashion if the helicopters were not available. Tunnels, guys. I'm going to show you 1 second. Hold that thought. This is a lot of cross-referencing. If you watch my channel, this is how it works. You got to pay attention to God's Holy Spirit. Okay, so I'm going to search something out real quick. Give me a moment. This might be a whole other video, but I just want to give you an idea. I'm going to try and pull up some pictures and show you some images. So we were told that Trump's new bestie, his new bro man, Elon, is going to not have an office at the White House, but he will have an office across the street. First of all, in the guise under the header umbrella of national security, why on earth are you telling everybody where you're going to be if you're going to be there? I saw a clip of Russell Brand talking about how Elon Musk moves like a sim. So does Trump. It's because they are. They're proxies. They're proxies. Musk is in my family. He is someone I know. Like, these regular people are playing these parts. And if they're not, then it's legion. They all have, like, how we have the Holy Spirit, right? they do have like this form of telepathy, and I know it because I'm partly in it because of how I was raised. That's how I know these things. I know these things without knowing them. And sometimes it's God telling me, but sometimes it's just because I'm still tapped into that hive mind thing. And I think that's also why, like, God put me here, right? I was the Trojan horse. Surprise! Oh, they probably hate me so bad. God be with me. Please forgive me. Okay, so we're going to take a look. Are you guys here with me on this tab? So we just found out that basically they're lying about the DC crash, that they already had a plan in motion to get 60 top of executives out of the land if something occurred, right? All right. Can we pull this up? I'm really looking for city planning here, see, because my youngest son, he was going to go to be a vet, but then at the last minute decided at his tech school, whose colors are red, white, and black. These people love red and black. They love the red dragon. Red, black, red, black, red, black. Now he moved to the school district that has the red dragon in there. Like, I can't. This is all, the symbols are too much. Like, they're everywhere. They follow them. 33 follows me everywhere. And I think it's because of Christ, not because, remember, it was all God's first. I think it's because of Christ, because I was raised, I've always talked to God. I've always talked to Jesus. Just always have. Just because you didn't know it or I didn't talk about it doesn't mean it wasn't happening, right? They can't stand not knowing, like, they want to know what's in your mind. It is the weirdest type of flattery, right? That it's not enough for them to control your body. They want your soul. Like, they want to have control over that sovereignty that God gave you. Like, that's what they're after. It's like nana nana boo boo. But we don't have to be like that, right? It's possible through refinement that anybody can get to the diamond within. If you're made of God, even by proxy, there has to be a chance for everybody, or the gospel wouldn't say, preach the gospel to all creatures. Preach it to all creatures. For some reason, we're supposed to do that. And I don't question, like, God can do what he wants. Is there lizard people? I don't know. I've never seen one. But and that's my problem, I guess, is I come off kind of harsh and maybe to say, like, don't copy me. I'm not a good example of things. I was not brought up in the best way. Okay, so I'm trying to bring up Pennsylvania Avenue. Wow, guys, this is like a very old picture. Do you see that? I have black and white. Hold, please. Oh. I have black and whites. Hold on. I have a whole set of them from New York. I have the Statue of Liberty, which we got from France. I want to know why it's called Little France, why there's French-speaking people in Canada and down, in New Orleans, and why I'm treated the way I am. If the French helped to settle this land, please quit treating me like garbage. Like, seriously. Like, I work hard when I'm able to work. And my body's ruined because of all the stuff they did to me as a child. I had these allergy shots I had to get all the time, every week in my arm. And my arm still acts funny. If I lay something cold on it, like, it's almost like there's something in there. I don't know. They've ruined my health. This one is actually France, I think. Pont de Moisson, 1917, Rue Gambetta. So I'm going to look. I have some of the White House. I want to know, can we pull up a map of just Pennsylvania Avenue? I want to see a picture. My dad had a picture. Somebody painted him, and I should have never got rid of it. I did get rid of it, though. My mom hated it. It creeped me out sometimes, but. And now, I don't know if anyone knows, but there is no traffic around the White House. They stopped that, like, in 2016. So some of these videos, if you're seeing cars and traffic in front, like, directly in front of the White House, that's not real. We just read that last night when we did this live. I can't remember where we came up with it from. Okay, so this is actually inside the White House. It looks like. This is like, or the other end of town. How about an aerial? And look, you can see all the different angles with all the shapes and the obelisks. And yeah, there's one right there. Oh, wicked. And see, I got to give it to, like, this is why I try not to make blanket statements, because the architecture of the time and the artwork is just stellar. Like there's no other era like the Renaissance era or the Tartarian era, whatever they want to call it. Oh, Tartaria, all these mud flood people, again, you're watching people of that bloodline, and they are large. You can tell if you pay attention and observe the videos. They're only ever around each other, and sometimes the other things that they're around look very small. There's a lot of illusion happening, but that's what the moving picture was created for, was illusion. It is in its own way a witchcraft just on its face, not to mention all the other stuff that goes into it. All right, so what I wanted to see was an aerial photo. But what I wanted to tell you was there are tunnels down there, okay? So we could conceive that Elon won't even have to go back and forth via road. He will use these tunnels. Like, apparently Elon loves tunnels, right? He's got these tunnels allegedly going in under LA, and everybody's like, oh, there's something under LA. Do your research. Just do your research and it tells you what it is. But is that really what's happening? Or is that, again, man taking credit for something God has waking up down there and God has happening? Okay? So tunnels is how they're traveling in that way. Tunnels is how probably our military, and again, this is stay home, stay safe. They're always telling you since 2019, stay home, stay safe. When we played freeze tag as a kid, what was home base? That was safe. That was your safe zone, is home. Stay safe, stay home. And everybody's giving the peace sign. Everybody. Either in pictures where they're being a deceiver and a liar, or they're trying to tell you, oh yeah, this is all good, meaning really it's not. Peace means war right now. Everything is the opposite. We also read that. It was part of Agenda 2030. We read that back in 2019 on the original channel before they deleted all the videos. I hid them. They deleted them. There's a difference. Other people have gotten their channel videos back over and over and over again. And I'm very well aware that somebody out there is probably monetizing me and exploiting me. And I don't consent to that, right? And if I'm a slave or if I'm a prisoner, at least make my station known so I can act accordingly to how I think I, need to act. So what else is important? Well, we proved that it's probably not a training exercise, right? Because that's 60 people on it. And this plan that they laid out here on foreignpolicy.com tells us that that's how many people that they would evacuate. Now, we know now they also said they would either evacuate to Mount Weather, Virginia, West Virginia, or Maryland. So let's take a look back here real quick, and then we'll go back to the, please don't do this. Is it still streaming? I lived in LA many years. My friends acknowledge the, yeah, again, I don't know how I feel about all that. And I'm not trying to be like a whatever. I just don't know how I feel about all that. Please tell me that this is still online. I'm so tired of like being messed with. I can't even explain it to you. And it's not like I realize it's not. 1 hour ago. Is it showing anything? Can I watch my video? You gonna let me watch it? Oh, it says I'm still live. Okay. Well, that's good. Sorry, guys. I want to make sure that this works for you. I don't want to come off as some tech guru, but neither do I want to come off as some tech spaz. I already told you, like, I was prepared for all this. I was in the kingdom and I didn't even know it. And when I saw all these things start to happen and I saw where it was going, even my dad, when he was passing, he was like, are you sure this is the work you want to keep doing? And I was a nurse aide and I was like, well, I enjoy it, and it's gratifying. I'm helping people. I said, it's not glamorous and it doesn't pay well, but I enjoy it. And I said, I don't want to be a nurse. I said, I just don't want to do that. They greatly, greatly tried to manipulate me out of the workforce. And to the point where, abuse, physical and mental and all of it, can make you seem disabled in some type of mental way for a time, because your mind is always under stress. You never know what you're going to deal with. So it's really unfair to say, oh, you're crazy, when we're just reacting to you're crazy. We don't know what you're going to do next. Like, you've bashed me in the head. You've slammed doors on my head, right? You've kicked me. You've thrown trash on me. You've burnt me with cigarettes. I don't know what you're going to do. Like, how exactly, like, where's the handbook that says how I'm supposed to behave? You've violated my body. You allowed others to violate my body in bizarre ways. And then I went for help. I did what we're taught to do. I went to the places we're supposed to go for help. I went to the churches. You offered me no aid. I went to the police. You offered me no justice. I went to the doctor. You've offered me no cure. You help, but you've offered me no cure. God fills those gaps. Faith fills those gaps. Without that, I would have nothing. So I have to say that every now and again to make that very clear. And it's not fair of you to keep throwing women under the bus who catch on to your nefarious plots and plans and decide, well, there's another bunch of women over here who are younger and prettier than this one. We'll just make this one appear to be mentally ill, and everywhere she goes in town, we'll go behind her and tell people not to talk to her, that she's mentally ill, that she steals, that she has a drug habit, and maybe even that she's inappropriate with little children, just because we don't want anyone to listen to the truth that she shares. When are we going to stop allowing it as a society? Now, I'm not a good person. Let's not mince words here. Christ said there's no good people. I'm striving, right, to be better than I was yesterday. But I'm no better than you. You're no better than me. And if I did have a royal title, I would still be working beside other people every day in whatever way I could. And I would make sure that, like everything else, I would flip that on its head and change it. Because just because something's been done for a long time, it does not make it right. You've got to stop these things you're doing, and you know what you're doing to people. You know what you're doing to women especially, and you know where you're taking the children. And no offense, but it really doesn't matter to me what gaslighters have to say to me. You only show up at the channel for code words and to leave certain things. Like, I'm just not, right? Where's the organic people who want to have a conversation, who want to seek truth? Where are they at? Stop hiding me from them. I do not consent. Regardless of what the consequences will be. I'm doing what God asked me to do. I'm praying that he gets the message out to people. All right, so let's carry on to the rest of this and end this video. That way, if anyone wants to share it or chop it up, they can, because I'm good with that. It does not bother me. I'm trying to close a couple of windows. That way, you guys. There. All right, so now we're talking about, well, if they can't make their way and be evacuated above ground, the 60 top what did they call them? I don't even know what they called them. Then we are going, and it says it's not specified, right? Like, in the plan, it doesn't say, it just says that they will make their way to the destination via some other way. But it doesn't say how. Now, many political leaders disdain suggestions that they practice for war or the very idea they would voluntarily hide them in bunkers. In the beginning of 2019, most people do not remember this. And this is one of the things they cut. In 2019, before the media changed, how do I say this? There were a couple of announcements that were then immediately redacted. One of them was the Pope had died. Another one was the Queen had died. Okay? They redacted those immediately. Now I'm saying that because at that same time, they said Trump himself said this. He said, I'm gonna be safe. I'm gonna go to Cheyenne Mountain. He said, and you all should be fine. This is as long as you don't watch the TV. It was something weird like that, right? He was basically saying like it was fake, right? Everything that they were doing was fake. Because he told us fake news. He didn't mean one outlet. He meant all of it, guys. All of it's fake. All of it. You know this from Project Mockingbird. You know this from watching compilations where all the news anchors say the exact same things like parrots. Actors equal liars. That's all they are. I don't trust any of them. And they're the only ones coming out about the LA fires. If those happen, they probably already happened. Everything they tell us that's going to happen usually already happened, so they can put their own spin on it. If it's something God did, they're going to take credit for it. If it's something really bad, they're going to blame it on God or someone else. So most leaders disdain the suggestion that they should hide away in a bunker, but again, they redacted those messages. They redacted that the Pope had died. They redacted that the Queen had died. And Trump you still saw, but that's when like the seal had changed. That's when the media room for some reason got smaller. It looks like a box now. It used to be more open. You'd see people coming and going by the doors on the side, the press coming and leaving. Again, if you have not grown up in this area, everything you're seeing right now looks normal. There's a reason they go after the older people first, because the older people, remember, they were here for after World War II, the first time all of this happened, and they got rid of everyone who would not comply or tell everyone who wouldn't go with the new narrative and the new history. This is why our parents couldn't tell us anything about their childhood, because they weren't allowed. Viva la revolution. Might be time. Peaceful resistance. If the apocalypse was coming, warding it off was considered a fool's errand, most presidents thought. So this is Mount Weather, where they are supposed to meet. I would swear this was on an episode where they talked about Hitler getting away, that, what's his name, Jamie Kennedy, or the guy that looks like Jamie Kennedy. So then here we go to how they keep changing it. Now, here's the linchpin comment. When I was praying yesterday, I said, God, what is the linchpin? What do I pull on to show everybody what is happening right now? When I found this word in this link, I knew that this article itself was the linchpin, because it is proof that the DC crash was not training. This is our proof. They are talking to us. They are trying to warn us. You've got to pass this along because you need to behave in totally different ways. There are military in plain clothes everywhere. I've said this so many times since 2019, just trying to get, and my videos get seen by 30 people, maybe 40. It is so frustrating, but I keep doing it because you might have children, because you might need saved, because this information might help you, because your family might be acting strange and you're not quite sure why, because maybe they sold you out because they know you're not going to comply. See, because they know in the hierarchy in our head, they know we're sovereign. They know we place God first. And in communism, there can be no God other than the government. Big Brother is the God. No more. I do not consent. And our children should all be paid off for us having war crimes committed against us since we were children. All of the continuous tests and the alleged, I don't know what words to use, pharmakia, right? Because I know I ain't the only one. Now they're talking about this gate program. That's one of the gates. That might be code too. They did these things to so many of us. Make you get things injected into your body that you don't want there. You don't want that. Like, was it really that hard to just let people alone? Let them live. Why do you care so much about that other person across the street for, other than their well-being? They're your neighbor. You should want the best for them. They're beside you. God forbid something happened to them. It could happen to you. If their house catches on fire, so could yours. This is why we should be tight, if for no other reason than to preserve ourselves. So even if you're not loving, I'm saying for self-preservation, it's worth getting to know your neighbors. We have members in military and of the UN, I believe, in plain clothes everywhere, and we have since 2019. You're not seeing many court cases go through. You're seeing the masks. That is also a communist-driven thing. These posters with this, that's an old socialist thing, and you saw what Musk did. I don't care how many times he apologizes for it. Because here's what's going to happen. In the end, they're going to say, we told you who we were, and you didn't believe us. Trump read the snake poem back in 2016 about the old woman letting the snake into her house to get it back to health. And when she nursed it back to health after it was healthy, it ate her. Trump read that to us. You knew I was the snake when you let me in. We have to kick the snake out of the garden. You have to know your sovereignty. You have to understand laws of consent. And let me make this very clear. There is no such thing as a lie of omission. That is just, again, to get them to tell you everything that's in your head because they want to know what you're thinking. They want to know if you're praying. They want to know if God's talking back and how that's happening because they don't have that. They've cut off that connection. And somebody showed me an image the other day. I'll try to look for it. In the Kabbalah, their tree of life or whatever it is to them, it has no extension to source, to the source of everything, to God. That's cut off. The actual tree of life, the real one, goes to that source of eternal life, to God, the creator, maker God, the tippy top God. These little g gods, man, they're corrupt. See what they're doing? We have to stop them. They have no right to tell us what to do unless you vote for them. Don't vote. Don't do it. Because even if the vote, let's say for argument's sake, let's play what if. Let's say that the elections since a certain year haven't even been valid. Like people say about the Vatican since 62. Like none of it's even real. Let's surmise that. If it's not even real. Hold on. I don't know how many different ways to try and reach people. I just don't. We have to connect these dates too, because a lot of the UFO flap, what does flap mean? When you do a research, you need to go back to the old verbiage because they're not going to use the same vocabulary, words, and terminology and Urban Dictionary. They're not going to use the same words that we use. So you need to go back and use the words that they use. UFO flap is when you have like a jump in a graph, right? That's a flap. What's going on when things jump? Why was there so much talk of UFOs at that time? In the 1950s, all kinds of things happened. My mom was born and abandoned, allegedly. I don't know why Satan hates me so bad, but these princes of darkness like despise me because they're going after everything I love. And let's say that it's just in my area. This is just some psyop against me to get me to like go mental. Why? Like, why go through all the trouble? Why would somebody send me an email and say, they don't say we're in this together. It's we're in this to get her. Is that a threat? Like, are you threatening me? And who is her? So it's saying during an all out, oh, nuclear, you know what? The government aims to have 80% of us survive. Flip that. That's the reverse. 20% of us surviving would be a high estimation. Okay? So on June 19th, 1979, FEMA was written into existence. There is a way, and it's ridiculous if you ask me on its face. We were talking, and I know this is long winded, and I'm sorry. You can pass along this information. You can read the link at your leisure, but it's important some of you understand exactly what these things mean because some of you might not. You might be younger and you just never looked at these things. So remember earlier when we were talking about the chain of command, who would become president if something happened to the president, and how if an emergency happens when they're evacuated, they need to be evacuated separately. The vice president, the president, they need to be in separate locations for their own safety and for the continuity of government of America so America could continue. Okay? Now, again, I don't think they're just speaking to each other. I think we have helpers trying to tell us what's going on too, because they know some of us research like mad. They know we can find this stuff. So they're using these code words that are parts of these plans. So we'll find them. Come on, guys, get on it. We're at war. And we have been. Why do you think now they're trying to encourage us to do no by 2025? Because we're running out of stuff. Consumerism, right? Everything we have is already in a warehouse. And I told you that. I said, why are they bringing things back from the 80s? Why do we have this 80s revival when that dude gave me the Game of Thrones clue at Walmart? That was like 2020 when everybody was still wearing masks and I was the only one in Walmart without one. This is all so wild to me. Like, I just don't. Anyway, so FEMA, their director can actually, if it's bad enough or big enough, the director of FEMA can somehow become the president. My concern is he's making all these czars. Okay, first of all, when did we start using that word in modern society? That's like a Russian communistic word, right? And I've always liked Russia. They seem kinder than they seem like a kinder form of communism, I guess, than China. I don't know. Like, I've always kind of admired Putin. And again, I don't mean that I admire Trump obviously for being a businessman, and his daughter is really, she's one of my heroes personally, but they might not even be real people, right? The proxies. Why would they show us our real leaders so that they could be harmed? Why would they tell us where they actually live? He doesn't actually live in the White House. That's not where they live. Okay, so FEMA was created, right, to oversee the task of overseeing civil preparedness. Now it says for a strategic, and I hate saying this word, nuclear policy, a secret CIA memo said that. Now again, they're using codes. All this stuff that you're seeing, I couldn't figure out, why is this Odin's Men guy, why is this military guy talking about these TikTokers so much, talking about trans people so much? It's code. It's code. None of it's real. None of it's what you think it is. Right here. A strategic nuclear policy, a secret CIA memo said that a trans attack planning, how the presidency could function during a nuclear war, was now a part of a national security strategy. I told you when Alyssa Milano showed us that her hair was falling out in 2020 and they blamed it on CV. I told you, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. No part of this is medical advice, but I have heard from others, for entertainment's sake only, that you should probably get potassium iodine. Probably. Are you having problems with your hair or your teeth? You need to, how do I say this? The Ark of the Covenant, the secret power in it, the reason Aaron had to wear that vest, it protected him from radiation. Just like you have to wear a vest when you go get an x-ray. It's the same thing. How much you want to bet that when you open that vest that there are gemstones in there? They say it's magnets, whatever. Do you see? Nothing is what they said it was. So that's why that military guy could not figure it out. I'm like, why does he keep sharing this? Why is he going on and on and on about this? Because it was code. We are under some type of attack. Something has happened. All of the big people are probably underground. Cardi B posted that picture of her house. All of these celebrities, their mansions are empty. You have urban explorers going to their empty mansions. There is no shopkeeper right now. And they're talking about a new golden age. And they're doing this a lot and saying, stay safe, stay home. We are in tribulation. The animals have started to come out of the fields like the Bible says. I saw a video yesterday on TikTok of a deer coming out to a woman sitting outside on a chaise lounge. So she starts filming him. Deer didn't really like that. He comes out and starts poking her with his antlers. He wanted to fight the woman. She was just sitting in her yard. It's all been code, all of it since 2019, every last bit. And I've tried, and I knew already, and I was trying to tell people, nobody wanted to listen. You got to keep your family close to you. Keep them with you. If you love them, keep them with you. Don't travel alone right now. I'd be willing to bet that some of the homeless people you're seeing are actually undercover military, and I'd be glad for it. We have to stop demanding every answer. We're not owed that. Do we want to be safe, or do we want all the answers? Because if we do have enemies out there, we can't tell them everything we're doing. Do you think I don't say everything on here? I don't give all my weaknesses and vulnerabilities because I don't want them. Like, they already know them, right? But I don't want them highlighting it and making it worse, right? These people are experts. Most of these children were raised knowing this time would come. I wasn't told anything. Some of you weren't told anything. We are the goyim. We are the ones we are the orphan children, us. I am a child of an orphan child. That's why my life is the way it is. Now, why they separated everybody, I'm not sure, because I do look like my mom and my dad. Why everyone got separate, like that whole thing, again, it all ends up being about the soul and about your temple. This is your temple. And that's the problem with parables and scripture and prophecy. They're waiting for this third temple to be built. That's never going to happen. The Bible is a spiritual book. Not everything in it is physical. Christ told them he would rebuild the temple in 3 days. Well, where is it? Flesh. It's your body. It's your body. His body regenerated. Quantum mechanics, miracle, whatever you want to call it. Transmutation, all of that. Came back to life, resurrected. But even Mary Magdalena didn't recognize him. He looked a little different. If that's the way things are done and we have to take this veil of forgetfulness, I'm not doing that either. Like, if that's just how things are done, I'm opting out. I want to learn from my mistakes. I don't want to keep making these same mistakes. I don't want to do these patterns anymore. I have a soul. I have likes and dislikes, preferences. If I don't want to do something, you should not try to force me to do it. If I don't want something in my body, you have no right to tell me I should put it inside my body. Now, should we encourage pro-life? Absolutely. Absolutely. But the second you say that a person doesn't have their own sovereignty and you sign off on that, we're in dangerous territory. People that are voting, you're getting what you're asking for. I think this is why I think it helps that hive mentality. Because once they vote, they sign their name and their loyalty to that person. It's like they're married. They become one flesh, kind of. That's why they have the hive mind. So they also have an official survival items list, a stockpile of resources that would be needed to rebuild the government after nuclear war. And I've told you before, they won't go down. Our public sector grids will go down. Their military grids won't go down because they are analog. They are always on that. Nobody can, you can't spy, right? You can't tap that. It's harder to tap analog. They're still on analog. They made us all switch to digital. You know why we switched? And I'll make a short of this too. They switched everything to digital because digital can be deleted and gotten rid of. They're going to erase this period of time just like they've tried to do it before. And they're going to try and trick people that Christ already came. No, he didn't. He didn't already come or things wouldn't be like this. And if he did come and he is somehow hidden from us until we can fully see, then of course I'll say I was wrong. I'll go out and find the New Jerusalem. But there is still darkness. Like, something is happening. I don't think it's the little season because that's what they want us to think. When the mainstream starts pushing the Bible, you have to ask yourself why. They want you to consent to being a martyr. They want your consent to just end you. And I showed you that in videos that came out in 2017, 2018 that our kids were watching. The cartoon video with all the parents in the 1950s that looked like Fallout. And they had the masks on. And they were all happy masks, but they were sad underneath. And they had a pit for all of the parents. And they pushed all of the parents in the pit. And I showed it to you, and I saved it, and I shared it. Some of you might not have seen it. They don't want us here who are going to tell the truth. And most people are going to bend. They're going to be okay. They don't care. They don't care about truth. Truth matters, man. I don't want to keep doing this pattern. I don't care if there's a natural algorithm behind things. Like people have archetypes and similarities, and there are patterns that repeat. I can understand that, like natural law and stuff like that. But I'm sovereign. Other than God being above me, He made me have the choice of what to do with myself, even if that's wrong. And I intend to use that. You will not tame me to be whatever it is you want me to be. Of course, I'll obey the law of the land if it goes along with God's word. I seek to do no harm. I don't want to hurt anybody, physically, financially, spiritually, anyway, right? I've had that done to me. I don't seek to harm anyone, nor myself any longer. But you really should stop pushing people in a corner, because that's when they start shouting, Viva la Revolution. All right. Meanwhile, the White House was focusing on the hardest challenge of all, providing a mechanism for presidential successors if the president was ended. Now, I said before, this is what you want to watch for now. Any of this language that they start using, now we got to start watching for more coded words, right? Now that we know this is what they're doing, absolutely. We have proof of it here in this plan from 2017. Now we know. Now, here's the last bit that's very important. And again, there's a reason I'm long-winded. I don't want them to be censored. And there's no reason they should censor this information. It's publicly available. All you got to do is look for it. No. So it says the country's the original solution offered by the White House military offers were code names uttered by their designees. So if the Speaker of the House, Thomas P. Tip O'Neill Jr., found himself the only surviving successor, all he would need to acquire complete control of the government and its arsenal would be to offer the surviving Pentagon Command Center's emergency action officer a vocal verification of his identity by using the term Flag Day. So if we see Flag Day, finger, or fade away, apparently those are code words. Secretary of State Cyrus Vance, another Vance, that's interesting. So they're all giving code names. Basically what this means is, okay, so we have an event take place. We're going to war. Somebody's after our government. And we had several high-profile people in the same vehicle and or location, and now they're all ended because of some attack, right? So now you have just these few stragglers, and this guy knows he's a nobody, but he's going to be the president because he's the next in line. So he knows he's got to get to somebody in the military, right? And utter this code name they gave him, which is weird because I have one. I don't understand anything that's happening right now. So basically, everybody has code names. So our President Trump likely has a code name. This led to a key recommendation of 5 50-person insurgency cadres that would be pre-positions or pre-deployed during emergencies to support would-be presidential successors. These presidential successor support teams, codenamed Treetop, cadres by the Pentagon, would deploy randomly to any one of several hundred sites, perhaps 2,000 to 3,000, that would be pre-selected, highly flexible, and adaptive. What does that mean in layman's terms? This means that when they get to feeling like there's something wrong, like we could go to war, like it's not even happened yet, but things are tense, right? Like the Cold War time. They're going to take groups of military and put them in position ahead of time to protect the would-be successors to the throne or to the presidential seat, right? So they would take the vice president and his aide, or the director of FEMA. they would take all these people, give them code names, and they would set up places ahead of time, almost like safe houses, but safe areas, kind of like the small town I'm in, which again, this is all so weird. So their code name for that is treetop. If we see treetop in the media, come back to this. Odom's team drew up a list of requirements for these team. So first they would need to actually authenticate the president, so he would have to have that special name. Here's the most important part. Remember, this came out in 2017. So when I said Trump was different and I said he wasn't acting like Trump, what does that mean? Check this out. The first thing that a deployed team would do was to identify and authenticate the actual president, the ranking successor. The details of the system they deployed or developed remain highly classified. But it was described to me, it involved what might be the first example of tracking chips embedded in the presidential successor support cards, which would be amplified by radio frequency repeaters. What does that mean? Targeted individuals. Are they testing on us? Are we beta tests? Are we the next head of state and nobody told us? Like, I know that's definitely not me because, again, I'm so far down. I'm like bottom on totem pole. The signals would be collected by FEMA and the National Military Command Center. Other critical tech that would be deployed to assist the would-be presidents would also be tagged and tracked. So any equipment that you send with them will also be tracked, right? So they don't lose track of these would-be successors, because that's important. I get it. But it's still creepy. Like, there's got to be another way. Stop tagging living beings. Like, it's just weird, man. The signals would be collected by FEMA and the National Military Command Center. Other critical tech would have the tags too. The plan, however, flew ahead of the technology available to make this work. It wasn't until George Bush that the government could passively and electronically track some presidential successors by satellites and cellular phone systems. We've been a beta test. If you've never seen the movie Circle with Tom Hanks, you need to see that. That's what they're going to do. And they made voting mandatory through social media, and social media held all of your medical information, and you were connected and you were watched and monitored all of the time. Second, each team would have on its own help. They would have to help the successor carry out his main functions, which would be commander-in-chief, chief of state, and chief executive. So they would have to help the would-be president function, because this person is probably not prepared, right? If the president and vice president are gone, this person probably is like, okay, I had no idea this was going to happen. They're going to need help. They're going to need support. If you've ever seen like The Princess Diaries or Anastasia, like they always need people to teach them how to behave because they don't know anything, right? They're brought in like rags to riches stories. I'm sorry, and I'm almost done. With outside help for at least 6 months. So they're saying they prepared these individuals as groups in little towns all across America or wherever to help these would-be successors of the president to function until such a time as when they, things are over or they have to, wow, this is wild. So these are called PEDs. So if we see these words, providing for the mobilization of the nation's resources. Agencies were asked to weigh in on whether they could carry out a series of secret executive orders. These orders remain classified to this day, but certain public documents offer scraps of information. Public documents, everything we're reading is publicly available. The Carter White House, that's interesting, Beyonce, and she chose to put the Carter on her daughter. The Carter White House eventually issued at least 29 PEDs. PED 2 dealt with the reconstitution of Congress, a touchy issue. PED 5 was titled Providing for the Mobilization of the Nation's Resources. How would Congress be reconstituted? What resources would be mobilized? Who would be drafted? We still don't know. We know this. Changes went into effect in late 80. 1980, the CIA set up its own secret agency, the National Intelligence, what is it called? NIESO? Weird. Which would be headquartered in Virginia. That's the area I've been wanting to go to. I have all these spots that it's weird. Receive input from all CIA directorates and deploy three-person successor support teams to randomly chosen treetop locations at a moment's notice. So basically, they can ensure that the government still carries on getting people their SSI checks, getting people food and water, getting people who have been affected by natural disaster back under roofs, back into shelter. Um, so just so that these things can continue, right? Which is needed. I get that. And some of us should understand these things. But if we see these words being used again, we know that these are not exercises. We are big girls and boys, and we need to handle this information like big girls and boys. Quit indoctrinating the youth through TikTok. Stop cooperating with the powers that would be, that aren't anymore. And the sad thing is they're probably gonna, again, the people who write the history books, they're gonna say that the bad things happened to the bad people and that God took all the bad people away. That's not really how it works. But that's what they'll say probably. If this is not the tribulation, which I personally feel like it is, but okay, so if we see the term treetop, we know that they are getting the president and all of his men, all of his successors, and that poem ran through my head the other day. Humpty Dumpty and all of his men couldn't be put back together again. Man, God does that. Sometimes I say things and I just don't know, like linchpin. That's not a word I use. And then I found it here and I knew I had to show this to you guys. So we know that this operation is called Treetop. So if we see that, we know that a designated presidential successor would start being brought to Mount Weather during events that gathered all the branches of government together, like the State of the Union address. We also know that Reagan found the system inadequate. He briefed on it before his presidency, but his participation in the 1982 Ivy League War Games convinced him that a survivable presidency was untenable and a major gap in the defenses of the country. One of his top aides, Thomas Reed, along with a Marine attached to the National Security Council by the name of Oliver North, persuaded Reagan to permit some modifications rather than to abandon it. Flash forward 35 years. Russia took Crimea by force, and an under-resourced NATO worries that an invasion of the Baltic Sea could bring the alliance to the brink of war. And what are they doing right now in the Baltic Sea? Allegedly, they're cutting internet cables. Is that really what they're doing, though? Or is something else awake down there? I've talked about this. And I have joy. I want to make that very clear. People say, well, you're sad a lot or you cry a lot. If you have the Holy Spirit, that shouldn't be, no matter what situation you're in. I can't believe other mothers would say that to me, knowing what I know about my children at this point. I don't know where they're actually at. I don't know if they're saved. I don't know if they'll have the chance to be saved. First of all. Second of all, there are saints in the past who were, I'm not a saint, but I'm saying there were decent people who cried and wept a lot every time they prayed, and I do that too. Because this is not a good time. I'm not going to call this good. It's not good. Like you all keep trying to get me to call this good stuff, and it's not good. I'm not going to call evil good. I just won't. The United States worries that North Korea is on the verge of mating nuclear warheads to intercontinental ballistic missiles that could reach portions of the United States. Again, we're just reading here, we're researching, we're doing our due diligence as good citizens should do. Right? Viva la revolution. President Donald Trump can still be baited with tweets, has resorted to military force against a sovereign nation backed by Russia after seeing television images of children ending from exposure to gas, has spoken of building a bigger and not just better arsenal, and has not yet demonstrated the temperament to respond to a crisis with tact. He has that now. I don't know if it's what was done to him, but he definitely, there's calmness behind Trump, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all when I look at him. I waited on a guy again the other day. He looked just like Jeff Bezos. I said, "Wow, man, you look just like Jeff Bezos." Huh? He said, "I don't know. I don't know who that is." You never heard of Jeff Bezos? You don't see any newspapers as you're in line? Like you never? Telling you, these people are regular people and they just want their privacy, like most people. Some of us don't want to be recorded all the time. Some of us don't want our picture. Some of us just don't want that. And that should be okay. But if it's something else, if it's something that even those in control of us don't control, if it's something coming down from the tippy top, then we need to know that too. They need to quit trying to hide God because honestly, they're doing a crap job of it and they're making everything else look really bad. Because I know not everything is bad. I have joy with my dog. I have joy thinking of my children and the warm memories that I've had with them, right? I have joy all throughout the day seeing the young people, just enjoy their lives, enjoy their youth. I don't want to say I'm living vicariously through them. It's just nice, right? But don't tell me to say that these are good times when we're living in the grand deception of all deceptions. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to lie to the children anymore. Like, I lied to them and I didn't know it. I said that I would never do that. I said that I would try to be a good parent, a better parent than I had. I said that I would try to remember what it felt like to be a teen and be an outcast and a misfit and have nobody want you around and being a reject and how hard that is. Just trying to fit in. You shouldn't have to want to fit in. We shouldn't make people feel that way. I don't think we can help it. We get into that tribal mentality. But then we should go back to living like that. Smaller communities, where the church is the center of the community, where the garden is the center of the community, where you gather there. And your work is working the land for your sustenance, for your food, for your real food that you buy, or that you grow, that you don't buy. So I'd say that Trump has, they really hate me, and I know they do. And I hope this whole video posts. Please watch it all the way through. I know it's long-winded. I will attach this link. But I also want you guys to read it, go through it, and go to those certain parts where I highlight. You can go back. You can skip the filler, me talking and chatting it up with you guys. But again, I have to say, it's not me being narcissistic. These darker princes or whatever they are, they don't like me. They don't like that I'm bringing these things to awareness. And I honestly don't understand that. You can't be in control forever. You can't be on the top forever. Somebody's going to push you down eventually. Just like these YouTubers who pushed all the Hollywood elites down. You know why they're doing that, right? These people wouldn't allow themselves to be trashed like this in the media and say nothing. Those people aren't actually out and about. They are underneath of us. They're living their lives down there now in fear. Maybe, they're still performing. They're still making videos. They're still doing green screen stuff to make it look real. Man, wake up. Get you some, go to the holistic store. Get you some stuff. I flashed a bottle of stuff the other day. Let me see. Get you some, see if I can. So yes, I think that was a sacrifice. Boston is where the satanic headquarters are. 60 people are part of the end of the world scenario plan. So they're lying about it being, they're just lying about the whole thing. Okay. All right. I got to go take care of my dog because he's just, nothing is making him happy. Okay. So this is what you want to look at. I can't talk about it. I'm not a doctor. None of this is medical advice. Always seek your chosen professional out. But if you're having problems with your stomach, if you're having any issues with your teeth or hair or skin, of course, this is for entertainment purposes only because I'm not a doctor. But this page might interest you. please share the information that I shared. I will link this right now when I end the video in the comment section below and in the description if I can fit it in there, because all I do usually is copy and paste that. I love you guys so much. If you are the praying kind, please pray for me. I am going to do a couple of readings soon just because I need to. And I've promised you guys that. And it's a nice way to kind of relax. And let's check the news real quick for today before I jump out. How do I get to home? How do I just go home? How do I just go home? How do I just go? Okay, so we just want to see if there's. So here's a link about Trump again. Has short, sobering quote. This was a couple hours ago. This is about the DC incident that they are still. Now, 5342. This is a number in something else, and I saw it recently. Guys, if anyone knows it, let me know. If you're into gematria or executive orders and all that stuff, I just saw something with these numbers, something else, and I can't remember what it was. Kansas, Kansas. That's there's a base there, guys, too. There's an important base there. I don't even want to go through any more of this live because it's so sobering. Oh, man. Okay, so they're trying to blame Trump. He's trying to blame Biden, DEI. Now, here it goes. They're getting rid of DEI because, watch this. In the beginning of Barack Obama's administration, the FAA began hiring those with what are called targeted disabilities in order to empower them and facilitate their entry into a more diverse and inclusive workforce in air traffic operations. Look at those words, target. And this is way back in Barack Obama's. Man, I'm not going to do videos titled that no more. I told you guys that was some type of, you don't want to call yourselves that. I just used it to get you guys to come and see the information. What are targeted disabilities? Severe disabilities, psychiatric disability. And if you change the letters around, DEI can spell die, which I just thought was interesting. And now my son, the youngest, I was shown a picture, has a dog who looks like the Dogecoin dog. And when he was younger, he used to call dogs Doges. Please keep telling me that I'm crazy or I don't know what I'm talking about. They're going to just try to put me away like they did with Typhoid Mary. I did a video on Typhoid Mary. If you don't know who she is and you're a non-compliant person like me, oh no, then you should get to know who she is. Married a single woman. She was an immigrant from Ireland, and she worked for a couple banking elitist families. They ended up putting her away because they said she was spreading this, but she was not getting ill herself. So that she was they labeled her as a carrier. So they put her away in seclusion, and she ended up dying like that on an island, tucked away from everyone else, at a camp. On quarantine at Riverside Hospital on North Brother Island. Big Brother, anyone? So they kept her there for years because she would not comply, because she probably knew things working for those people. She probably tried telling truth to people. So they put her on an island and quarantined her. Look what they did to Ethel Kennedy. How many times are we going to allow this to keep happening? How many times are you going to allow it, Lord? How long? I'm tired. Please share the information that I shared with you. It's important. Love somebody today. Do something for somebody else today. Make them smile. Smile at them. Just something. I hope this whole thing shares, and if it didn't, I apologize. I try. I do the best that I can. I do what God asked me to do. You guys have a great, blessed day. If you missed what I shared, I'm going to link it in the description. And the comments, though. I know the comments, people will see it there, so I'll pin it there. God bless you guys. We'll go outside in a minute.